So that getting started, I would like Witan Young to go ahead and fill us in on what we have to expect at Ostara this weekend. Witan Young.
Thank you, Miss Brandy. Yeah, expect a lot of frith, fellowship, worship of the gods. We will we'll open the event with welcoming the gods. We'll have Thorabloat around 6 p.m., which will be led by Altair Gothi Flavel. And we'll have a Q&A session with the AFA Witan. And then Saturday, everything's around Ostara Bloat, and that will be led by Githia Katie Erickson. And we'll have our auction, our AFA auction. We have artisans from all over the country that have poured a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into their art to donate for our Hoth auction. We're expecting a record turnout for Ostara in the South. It'll be the first time Thorshoff's ever hit triple digits if everybody comes that's promised to. And while I'm on that topic, I want to recognize the folk builders that have really been grinding in Thorshoff South for the last 60 days. Longer than that, really ever since Yule. So that's folk builder Tyler Bethay, the beautiful lady next to me, folk builder Heather Young, folk builder Bobby Shotwell, folk builder Nick Rice, and many, many others from other districts. It's really appreciated. Those guys have really worked their tails off, and this their work has paid off. And I'm excited to get this weekend going. But expect to see every member of the AFA Witan. And as long as I've been in the AFA, this is the first time that at a national event that we've all been in the same place at the same time. So that's going to be really fun. You can expect to see. There's one more thing, and I'm forgetting. Oh yeah, we're gonna have a wedding. We're going to have a vow renewal on Sunday, and we're also going to be hosting our monthly food pantry on Saturday. That's about it.
Thank you, sir. So I'm going to put my other good Gothies on the spot here, and we'll start with a Gothi Stamm and then go into Gothi East. Gothi Stamm, can you tell us a little bit about why we're celebrating Ostara? What does it mean and what do we do?
Am I still on mute? No one hear me? Okay. Ostara. So a lot of times you'll hear people say, well, Ostara is not in the Norse corpus, right? We never hear of Ostara in the Norse myth. However, she absolutely does have representation in the Germanic overall myth cycle. And of course, in all of the Aryan branches, every single one, as a matter of fact. The goddess of dawn is highly represented in the myths and the stories and the faith. For example, her iteration in the Vedics, Ushas, she's the most mentioned goddess in the entire Rig Veda. And she's mentioned more than some of the gods. She's very highly respected and known and worshipped. And we know her from every single Aryan branch, and she's conspicuously missing from the Norse myths. And I have my theories on that, of course, but I'm 100% sure that our Norse ancestors worshipped Ostara. I believe that she was so important that she was deliberately erased to foster in the conversion. But she is a goddess of spring, of renewal, of the earth coming alive again. We celebrate her on the spring equinox, which is when the sun is coming back and the earth is starting to wake up again. There are some theories that in our very distant past, we're talking pre-Vedic times, Proto-Indo-European times, that she was important because we were in, the theory is Hyperborea, where the dawn doesn't come but once a year. So the goddess of dawn becomes extremely important. But she was so important that regardless of that theory, she still remained important in the faith and the worship of Aryan people throughout the ages and down to us today, in all the various Aryan branches. And we celebrate her still in the AFA as the Lady of Dawn and Renewal and Spring.
Thank you, sir. Go the East, could you give us some ideas on how we can celebrate Ostara individually as families and as folk if we are not in a Hoth, even though we all should really take the opportunity to visit one at this time of the year?
Yeah, absolutely. Something you can do is you can kind of look at how our ancestors viewed things in cycles. The cycle of the seasons is pretty much what our holy tides are built off of, and I'm sure that'll get covered later in the episode. But a good way to look at it is Ostara, the dawn of spring, is almost like a new year, right? And a lot of people do rune pulls during Ostara, like Gothar Stamm actually, and they do that to kind of, divine some sort of meaning for their new year. So you can do that with your family, do that as a household. You can, of course, give bloat to Ostara anytime, anywhere. You can do, the Christians do the Easter egg hunt. That's not an Abrahamic thing. You can still do that. Just call it an Ostara egg hunt, I suppose. You can just get out and enjoy the springtime weather and kind of meditate on the beauty of it, the warmth, what it means for the earth, what it means for our folk. You can decorate using the flowers that are starting to bloom as Ostara makes her way across Midgard. Something that we used to do pretty often at Ostara in the south previous years was Founder McNallum would get up before dawn, and those of us who wanted to wake up that early were allowed to join him, and we would all greet the day together using the prayer from the Sigdrifamal, Hail Day, Hail the Sons of Day, etc. Those are just off the top of my head, but you kind of get the gist, I'm sure.
Thank you, sir. So, Folkbuilder Young, you knew I had to call on your pretty face. Could you give me your first or your favorite memories about Ostara since you've been in the AFA?
I would have to say my first Ostara ever. What was that place that we?
I was in Kannapolis.
Kannapolis. That was my first big event. Only like my third or fourth get together with AFA folk, and that's the first time I got to meet Rob. Trent and I think Madison weren't there that year. I met Tyler, and the thing that stuck out to me most was the kids. The kids got to run and play, and the parents weren't hovering. I mean, the kids were everywhere, And then the Bethay kids, they were so little, and they had sippy cups. And when Matt would say, hold the horn up, and he would say, hail the gods, the little babies were walking on this little wall, and they would hold their little sippy cups up and say, hail. And I don't know, that just amazed me that they were so little and they were so involved, and that kind of stuck with me the most. So I'm excited to have them at this Ostara again, but they're big boys now.
So we do have a donation from Ronald Blake, $25 for VNS and $25 for Njordshof. Thank you, Ronald. You are always so generous, and we appreciate everything that you do every single week. Thank you so much. So I want to ask the people on this video, do you guys remember the first time we were all at the same place at the same time? Where was that, Go the East?
All of us were at Ostara 2022, I believe. Yeah, because the three of us were ordained already. Are you sure? No, because we were.
Oh, I remember because they shut down all of the schools and the airports on my way home from Ostara that year. And I was wondering if I was going to be able to get home or not because they canceled all the kids' school, all the flights, and it was pandemonium.
Everybody was there on this call except Gothar Stamm.
Right.
Except Goldie Sam, yeah, so you're right. So 2022.
It was actually 2020 was the one you're referring to, and that was at Dreer Island, South Carolina.
Yeah.
That was the last
And that
one.
was where my son and your daughter met for the first time. And one of the cutest pictures that ever existed in the AFA is of those two.
Yeah. Yeah, that's in fact that's where I turned in my application for the Gothar program, was at that weekend. And that same weekend, Spawn approached me about, helping him out with Thorshoff. We had just had a little shakeup in the Carolinas with previous leadership, and so Spawn and I knew each other, and I wouldn't say we were friends. We weren't not friends. We were friendly, but didn't know each other all that well. And the beginning of a very awesome friendship started that weekend. That was the first time I met Brandy too, and she and Heather clicked immediately that weekend doing the kids crafts and stuff. I heard about it the whole ride back to Camden. But yeah, so 2022 was the last time we were all together at Ostara, and then we were also together at Thorshoff for mine and Heather's vow renewal a couple years back, which was amazing. Happy moments. I share a lot of happy moments with the folks on this call, and I'm very appreciative and grateful for that.
Yeah, I believe that was the great taco adventure of 2022, I believe. If you're on this call or you were at Ostara, if you know, you know, but nothing will ever beat the taco adventure of 2022.
Except
all we're gonna say is when Gothar Stamm wants tacos, the whole crowd goes out to get tacos for him, and he's sleeping when we get back. That was a great time. So almost all of my best friends are on this call. There's a few people missing. Not many people missing, but there are a few people missing from the call that I would consider my dearest friends. But our relationship with each other all really, as a group, really started at Ostara. So Ostara kind of has a real special place in my heart personally. I always say if I go to an event that's not at Baldershof, which is the bestest, then I definitely want to go down south. Go down south at Thorshoff because of the beauty of the building, the hospitality of the people. It's an amazing event. So tickets are still on sale at runestone.org. Heather, would you like to fill them in on what they can kind of expect getting to and from the airport or driving in? What can they expect getting into Thorshoff?
So we do have transportation
Oh.
arranged for a handful of people,
Yeah.
but Heather knows a little bit more about that too.
Yeah, so we have some people flying in that are coming in that we have gotten rides for. So if you do need rides, please reach out so we can make sure we have somebody to pick you up. I do know that the hotel in Dunn is sold out that we usually use. I think a couple people got some rooms at Days Inn, but all that's left is Fayetteville and Lake Springs. So if you're coming in and you need a room, make sure you get a room because we have a lady flying in who hasn't reserved a room yet. And so I'm trying to help her get a room. And if you need transport out, please let us know so we can make sure we have people to get you to your flights before you have to be leaving.
Yeah, we got some folks going back to Raleigh, and we've got transport arranged for them, and we have the Ostara Gothar heading back to Charlotte, and we got transport arranged for him. And something Heather said was really important. Make sure that anytime that you guys fly into an event like this, that you pre-arrange transportation and lodging and stuff. I know some folks are coming in at the last minute, and we're happy to have you, but it really puts us in a bind if we're not expecting to have to scoop people up from
Yeah.
airports and run them to Airbnbs and stuff like that. So
So what kind of events do we have planned for our men, women, and children? Do we have anything special going on at Ostara this year?
yes, we do. We have ladies group will be hosted by the beautiful lady next to me. And I don't know what that's about. Spooky girl stuff, I guess. And the men's group will be, strength games, and that'll be hosted by Folkbuilders Tyler Bethay and Bobby Shotwell. Children's activities, we have an ingenious thing that actually just kind of happened by accident at Ostara a few years ago. Is during our auction, rather than having all the kids running around being a distraction or pulling on mommy's dress while she's trying to bid on a really cool set of runes, we have story time in the Vey with Spawn, and we call it story time with Papa Spawn. And then, of course, expect an egg hunt on Saturday in the afternoon. I think that's about it. We considered doing like maybe a meditation class with Alan, but Alan was kind of a last minute addition. So we're going to do feats of strength and stuff like that with the guys. And Heather, can you tell us what we're doing on the ladies group?
I talked in the ladies chats, but if someone isn't in the ladies chats, every lady is supposed to bring some kind of small gift it doesn't have to be of value. It's what you find as a gift. And I think that's the best way to explain a person to another person is what you put value in. So that was the whole point of bring a gift, whether it's an acorn, a thimble, a trinket, a leaf, it says a lot about a person and what they put value in. So that's how I wanted to kind of open the ladies group. So that's why I reached out and asked all the ladies to bring a small gift to exchange with another lady. So that's why I didn't want it to be anything expensive or, don't go to Walmart and buy a $20 gift or anything. Just put some thought into it, and some of our ladies are very talented and make things, and I am not very talented at making things, so I have something else planned. But we're gonna do that, and we're gonna talk a lot about Frith and building bonds with the ladies, stronger bonds in the ladies group.
Heather, are you familiar with the eggs that they're working on in the ladies group right now? Are you familiar with those?
I remember them from last year, right?
Yeah, could you talk to us about those a little bit? Kind of one of the traditions that we have.
I didn't do it last year.
I can do it. So the AFA ladies are working on Ostara eggs, but they are hand decorated by the women. They are raw eggs that we have the holes cut in the bottom and a hole cut in the top, and those eggs are blown out. They're decorated by the women, by the families, and then they are filled with intention and prayers and gifts, whether that's dried flowers, incense, resins, small trinkets, anything that we want to put in there for gifts. And those eggs are protected and nurtured and cared for by the women until May Day, which after May Day, the eggs are actually broken and either planted or burned into the May Day fires. So it's something that you can do as an individual or something that you can do as a family. And it's a good project that you can get your kids involved in. The kids love doing the eggs. They love decorating the eggs, filling them up with anything that you can imagine. You can put small beads in them, resin, flowers, herbs. You can write notes and intentions and put those in there. But that's one of the traditions that the ladies have been working on. I think this is the second year that we've done that, right, Heather? This is the second year that we've done that. So if you're one of our AFA ladies and you find yourself kind of in an isolated area, make sure you go on MeWe and check in with your ladies in that MeWe group. There's a lot of stuff that we do together as a group. There's a lot of good conversation, and it's a good place to network and really connect with people when you can't be at a HOF or can't be at an event, especially if you're isolated. And Go the East, would you be able to fill us in a little bit on MeWe, what kind of groups we have, how they can get involved, and what they can expect and why they should be on MeWe?
Yeah, so obviously social media is no, replacement for real life. Never has been, never will be. But for those of us who are far away from the HOFs or, work more than we should have to or whatever, the MeWe groups, the group chats especially, are a great way to stay connected with, your AFA family just throughout the day. At my day job, for example, I'm allowed to kind of look at my phone for work-related stuff, and I also get in the MeWe groups like I'm probably not supposed to do, and I check in with all my AFA friends and stuff, and it's great. Different groups we have, there's physical excellence where you can, post your gym routine or selfies or ask for advice on diet and exercise. There's spiritual excellence where Gothy Jason Plord does a weekly lore study, for example. There's write-ups that all the Gothar do. There's neat little auspicious things that people find that they might share there. There's the Moots and Meetups group, which is exactly what it sounds like. There's moots and meetups, so you may end up finding something in your area that you didn't know was going to be there, or you may want to host something yourself, even if you're not a folk builder, and you can advertise it there and people will show up. There's, of course, the different groups for the different districts, so you can communicate more with your area specifically. It really is a game changer for those of us who are busy or just separated from the rest of the folk geographically. So.
Yeah, MeWe is definitely where you're going to find a majority of our AFA people. So if you haven't gotten on MeWe yet, that is where you need to go to find out about moots, to see pictures, to connect with other members, to join the multitude of groups that we have. You're going to get most of your social media, any information that you would usually get on social media, that's where you're going to find it, is on MeWe. So make sure, if you are not on MeWe yet, contact your folk builder or contact any of your Gothar or contact any of the other members. Ask them for a link for MeWe. Get yourself on there and get yourself involved. Also, if you can go to any of our websites, we've got the main Runestone website, but we've also got websites for each of the 4 HOFs as well. Odin's HOF, Thor's HOF, New York's HOF, Baldur's HOF. Each one of them has its own website, and each website kind of has its own personality. You can find all the information on who to contact as far as leadership. You can also check out the handy dandy calendar feature, and that's going to tell you what's going on in your area and who to contact in that area. So go to MeWe, check out those groups, especially moots and meetups and things like that, but also make sure that you are going to the websites, to the calendar feature, and see what's going on. If you have any questions or need help with transportation or looking for something to do, or you want to have something in your area, by all means, reach out to your folk builders. See if we can get something going in your area. I know a lot of the reason why people don't get involved is because they don't feel like there's anyone that's close enough to them. We have cross-state moots where we can, get together in Nebraska, and there's people from 3 separate states that go down there. We definitely go between Minnesota and North Dakota constantly. So there's a lot of people that are willing to travel. You got to put in that effort as well, meet them halfway. You might have to drive a couple hours to have a moot or have a bloat, but it's only a couple hours to spend time with your folk and to connect with people, with similar values that honor the gods and that you can really have a deeper connection with, other than just an online connection. So please get out, go see the people around you. Everybody on this call has been to a moot or to an event for the first time. We've all been there. We get it. Especially if you got a little bit of social anxiety or you're not sure what to expect, that first moot is going to be the hardest thing to go to, right? After that, it gets a lot easier. and then it gets easier. And then it's, I cannot wait to go to the Hof. That is where I see my friends and family. I cannot wait to have dinner with my kindred. I cannot wait to go see this person that I haven't seen in a month. And that first moot is the hardest. Getting out and doing that the first time and getting over it, that's where it gets hard. Once you do that, it gets easier every single time after that. So if you haven't done it yet, if you're holding back for some reason, get out there, meet your folk, network, all of the things. So we do have a question, and I'm going to pass this over to our Gothies, and I'll let whichever one of them jump on it that want to. It's from Owl of Omens. Spawn mentioned Dellinger along with Ostara and Day and Night last week. Can you expound on who they are as divine beings? So if one of them wants to take Ostara and Day and Night, I'll let them go ahead and show their knowledge.
I'll jump on it then, I guess. So Day and Night and Dellinger are something that Witan Spawn calls heavenly wardens. And he and I have had goofy, half asleep conversations about this before, after Thor's Hof events and whatnot. So I'm going to be a little rusty on some of it, but just kind of bear with me. So obviously Ostara is the goddess of the dawn, one of the most well-attested, most widely praised goddesses of the Indo-European folk, as Gothi Stamm mentioned. Day and Night are mentioned very briefly as personified deities. Dellinger is mentioned even less, I'm pretty sure. But the way Witan Spawn explained Dellinger to me was he is the guardian of the door through which Suna's light and Ostara come through. So Witan Spawn's theory is that he kind of represents the atmosphere, so to speak. Not that he is an archetype or anything like that, but that is his domain. Does anybody else have anything on that? Because that's all I got.
No, you were absolutely right about his hypothesis on Delling, that it's almost represents like Heaven's Gate. It's the gate that warmth and light passes through, and specifically comes from east to west. It's my understanding of it.
Anybody else got anything to add on that before we go over to the next question? No? All right, so we've got another question from Finwraith. How does the Easter Bunny work in America? Do they come overnight like Santa Claus or in some other way? Easter Bunny doesn't come to my house, but we had the Ostara rabbit that came to our house, and they would usually come in the morning. So this is going to be one of those traditions that's going to vary, home to home and heart to heart. So the Ostara rabbit used to come in the morning when the kids were doing their chores, and they would, sneak in and hide baskets and eggs and cakes and treats and things of that nature. So that's how it used to work at our house. The Ostara rabbit would come and drop things off, but only when the children were busy and being industrious. So that is how that has always worked at my house. Folkbuilder Young, do you have anything to add on that, tradition-wise?
Well, our kids, by the time we joined the AFA, were pretty much over all that. But we did the same thing that you did. Just, naturally, we didn't it wasn't a big thing, like they would be cleaning dishes from the night before, or sprucing up for dinner, because we still do a big family dinner, of course, with our non-Asatru family for the holidays. And so we would be getting ready for family to come over and cooking and all. And Witan Young would go hide some baskets somewhere. And then they would find them and, you know, eat candy and be on a sugar high all day. Then they go to grandma's house.
It's interesting too because I mean our oldest child is 26 and
Yeah.
our second oldest is 24, and she still gets them Ostara baskets every year. and they have children of their own, so goodness, we get almost 10 baskets.
Yeah.
So yeah, the adult kids still get their baskets, and so do the grandbabies. That's something that's, you know.
But my daughter is very excited because this year her basket is going to be cleaning supplies for her home.
That's a good gift to get. That's a good gift to have.
Right?
Go these Stamm. Do you guys have any traditions that you did with your children?
You hear me? You hear me? Okay, sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties. You know, we do the very American Easter basket thing. One thing that I do that is pretty unique, and my kids have kind of also participated to an extent, is I don't pull runes every day, and I don't do it every month. I do it once a year, and it's a thing. And I usually do it at Ostara. So my kids would be involved with that because they'd want to see what I saw, you know. So, but we would also, one thing I'm a big fan of is the sunrise on Ostara, is getting up and saying prayers and greeting the goddess as she slips her rosy fingers over the earth's horizon and welcomes the new dawn of spring. And my teenager doesn't want to do that so often anymore, but my toddler is still down to go get up early and go say hello to the sun and to the lady of dawn. So that's been a tradition the last couple of years for me. And one of my biggest traditions is going to Ostara in the South. My youngest was had her baby naming at Thorishoff at Ostara in the South. I've got a lot of really happy, good memories, and all my best friends are there. So that's the best tradition, I believe, is going to worship the gods with people that I love every year.
You can also expect there to be a greeting of the dawn on Saturday morning. Witan Harold will be leading that. He actually did that last year with a number of. It was mostly ladies. Mike Joyner and I were preparing breakfast while that was going on, and it was a beautiful thing to behold. So if that's something that you're interested in, 100% be up early and be ready for that. Spawn did a beautiful job of that.
Thank you, gentlemen. We have a quick question from Diaspora European. Are you guys going to make a website for Sigerheim? As of right now, not yet, but as that grows, a website probably will sometime in the future. So I'm going to say tentatively, maybe. And Monk asks, where's the donate button? So we don't have any donate links for YouTube, but if you go into the description link for the video, you'll see several ways that you can donate. You can buy us a coffee, you can blow us a victory horn. And there's also all kinds of ways to donate on the website as well at runestone.org. And let's see, Sarah asks, so I heard the AFA has a homeschool program, Asatru Academy. That's pretty cool. Is there any special lessons, activities the children will be donating for Ostara? Sounds like they've got a lot of good stuff. I'm going to go ahead and let the Dean of the Academy take that question.
Okay. Yeah, we have lots of Ostara activities, lots of coloring pages, lots of kids' crafts that we do to help them celebrate the holiday. And also just a lesson to learn about the goddess. And of course, all our lessons and all our crafts and our story times, etc., are catered to the individual age groups. As our kids get older, they're going to dive a little bit more into lore and less so much on coloring. But we definitely have plenty of activities for every AFA and Asatru holiday for the kids to learn.
So if parents want to get themselves signed up and registered or interested in the program, how do they do that, Gothi?
Okay, you're going to go to asatruacademy.org. There's also a link on runestone.org for that. If you're a member, you can go ahead and fill out an application, which gets sent to our wonderful Assistant Dean, Sarah Alt, who contacts the parents first and goes over the application, goes over the school, and gets you logged into our learning program that we use. If you're not a member of the AFA, you have to be a member of the AFA first to utilize the Academy. So you would need to apply to be an AFA member first. But I will say, as far as the Academy goes, one thing I really try to emphasize, and this is one reason why it's exclusively to members, there's other reasons, but some, like for example, our academic program that we use, Waldorf, we spend hundreds of dollars on curriculum for our kids that we offer to our members for free. That is a benefit of being an AFA member. If you have children, is that we offer this time-tested, very good program for free. All you have to do is be a member. So that's a benefit we offer our members, and that's one of several reasons that we do limit the Academy to members only.
Thank you, sir. So we have a donation here. Ronald Blake bought us 3 coffees. Hail all. Thank you, Ronald. After all of the early mornings and traveling and all of those things, we could probably all use a coffee, so that is very much appreciated. Thank you, sir. All right, and we have another question from the Wolf Throne. Question for each of you. What is your favorite Asatru holiday and why? I'm going to start off with Go the East.
It's a great question. This one, Ostara. And I'll give backstory on why that is. So this Ostara marks exactly 9 years that I've been Asatru and 8 years and 10 months or so that I've been in the AFA. Dalton and Karen Woodward, who were that I started a kindred with, we all grew up together and we were in high school together. And I remember Dalton had missed math class on Friday, didn't tell me where he was going or what happened to him. On Monday, he comes back and he runs into the classroom. He's like, Trent, dude, I was at this awesome thing. You got to hear about it. And me being the kind of militant atheist that I was like, okay, what is it? And he was telling me it was this Viking religion thing called Asatru. And for whatever reason, and I to this day, I think this was something from the gods or my ancestors or something. But like I said, militant atheist at the time. But as he was telling me about Stephen McNallen's Wotan bloat at that event in 2015, it's like a flip of a light switch. I instantly was like, all right, well, time to make this my whole life. And I did. I wasn't able to get to a national event until Ostara in the South 2016, right before I shipped off to boot camp. But that was life-changing for me. So I was kind of skeptic of everything because I'm typically a skeptic in everything but my faith. And so I met Alsharier Gothi McNallen at the time, and that was pretty cool. He did his Wotan bloat, and afterwards I was like, man, I really felt that this is real. And then I kind of talked myself out of that, and I said, no, it's just the chemicals in our brain from all the cool yelling and stuff like that. And then the next day, Gothi Flavel at the time did an Ostara bloat, and I felt not the exact same feeling because Ostara and Woden are so different, but a very real, very similar feeling of this is real. And at that point, I was absolutely sold and proceeded to make my life all about this. So yeah, Ostara is my favorite for that reason and so many more. It's just the best time of year and I love it.
Thank you, sir. How about you, Witan Young? Your favorite Asatru holiday and why?
It's kind of tough to answer. I have two. Ostara, of course, and my experience is not all that dissimilar from Trent's. I still remember the first time I attended Ostara in the South was in 2019, and that was the first time Heather and I and our daughter Lauren had met. Rob, had met Spawn, we met the Ericksons, we met Alceri Gothi Flavel, Lost Speaker Turnage. And we met a lot of luminaries in Asatru, people that I would say are on the Mount Rushmore of Asatru in the modern era. And Alceri Gothi Flavel's Odin bloat that Friday night. And Rob, you were there. There was a point during the bloat where he was going to pour the horn into the need fire, and he did so really aggressively, and at least it appeared to almost spike the horn, and he was all flexed and hail Odin, and we walked away from that vibrating. It was just absolutely palpable. I was telling Rob not long ago that the Harrier Father song that's attached to Alceri Gothi Flavel's Woden Bloat, I can still hear that echoing across that lake in my head to this day, and that was going on exactly 6 years ago. And I like everything that the holiday represents. I am not a cold weather person, and even though I live in the South and I don't know cold the way that Brandy does, but usually by early February I'm done with it. I'm ready for it to be over, and I'll start complaining. So I'm ready for it to be 110 in the shade. But seeing everything kind of come back to life, and the grass starts turning green, not being that ugly dormant brown. We have a lot of Bradford pear trees in the Carolinas, and they start blooming early in March, and it's just kind of like the first sign of her arrival. And in a way, I kind of wake up also, mentally and spiritually. I get rejuvenated during this time of year. But my other favorite holiday, and it extends all the way back when I was a little boy, is Yule. When I was a little boy, my mother, she made sure she got us the best possible gifts she could get us, and they weren't the insanely expensive stuff that maybe other kids in the neighborhood got. But I knew when my mother gave me a gift, no matter what it was the very best she could do. And I really believed in the magic of the holiday when I was a little boy. I'd wait to hear the sled on the roof and stuff like that. And there was times that I could have sworn I heard it. And so once I became Asatru and realized that there was a connection between the two holidays, that the root holiday was actually Asatru in nature, and started getting more involved with that. That's a personal favorite, but Ostara is another one that just always stands out in my mind, particularly that first Ostara. I don't know if I'll ever attend an event that moved me quite as much as that one did.
What about you, Heather? What would be your favorite?
Mine's gonna have to be Ostara because people who knew me, well, Rob probably doesn't even remember me from the first Ostara because I hid in a corner and I was terrified of everyone. When I tell people that now, they don't believe me. But yes, I did. I think I said 2 words to Mandy and maybe 7 to Katie. And I sat around the fire. And then if a bunch of people came, then I disappeared to somewhere else. And I just ran and ran and ran. But, I stayed. And then by the end of the weekend, I was talking with people and I exchanged numbers. So I guess for me, it was like a new beginning for me, because from then on, I've just opened up more and more and more and seen more potential in myself. And if I would have never took that step to go be around 70 people that I didn't know, I might still be the Heather that sat in the corner and said nothing to anybody, you know? You never know. So Ostara definitely, because for personal reasons and kind of selfish reasons, it helped me see some of the potential that I have and things I have to offer.
What about you, Gothi Stamm? What's your favorite Asatru holiday?
Well, that's a to Ostara, so I should probably say her holiday. And not to mention that most of the people that I care about, I've met at an Ostara event. One very special one sticks out, but I also like May Day and Hexanoct because of the feminine and masculine energies that are at play in those two kind of back-to-back holidays. I joke around, but it's only semi-joking that everything is fertility right, and that is a perfect example. So, yeah, I also like Winter Nights though. So it's really hard to pick out a specific, but I'm going to go with Ostara.
So I'm going to have to go with Ostara as well. For a couple reasons, but like a lot of people on this call, Ostara's been special to me for a few years. So it's where I met some of my closest friends, and it's where I met the people that I don't know where I would be without them today. You know, everybody on this call is one of those people, which is why we're all on this call and we're doing this this particular takeover, is because who am I going to have on there? I have to have my best friends on there. This is where I met you guys. You know, now they are all kind of divided up now. These all used to be Thorshof people, and now we've got a Gothi of Njorshof, and we've got a new Gothi of Baldershof, and we've got a Witan and a Folkbuilder still in Thorshof. But that's the beauty of the AFA. You can move to an entirely different state. You can move to an entirely different district. And your family is still your family. The people that you love are still there. We may only see each other 2 or 3 times a year now versus every month, but the connection is real enough and strong enough that we can survive that 1 year of seeing each other. It also helps that we're all on MeWe, which if you're not on MeWe, you really should be on MeWe. Also, it helps that we do this together quite often. It also helps that we're constantly on the phone together. Membership talks to membership. Leadership talks to leadership. Members talk to leaders. Leaders talk to members. We are a large family that is in constant communication with each other. And your level of communication is going to entirely depend on you, on what it is that you're comfortable with, on what it is that you want. If you want that regular family connection, this is a place that you can find it. But just like going to that first boot is the hardest boot to go to, that first call to your folk builder, or picking up the phone when your folk builder or your Gothi or your Githia call, answering a text message from a member if you've opted to be someone willing to be in contact with people. Answering that call, answering that first text message is also the hardest call and the also hardest text message. But once you do it, you're going to build relationships in Frith that go beyond state lines, that in some cases go beyond country lines. There are oceans between some of us, and we still have that connection. So if you are looking for that, this is a place. If you are not already a member, join if that's what you're looking for. If you are a member who feels isolated, we are literally just a phone call away. That's all we are. Just a phone call away. An email, a MeWe message. Go to your Hofs. See your folk. The first time is the hardest. Go the East, you said was it Ostara that you said was your very first event?
It was my first AFA event. I had met up with a local kindred who are unfortunately anti-AFA now. But yes, they were kind of a stepping stone for me to join the AFA, because I met with them and I was like, well, these guys are okay, but the AFA is clearly better. And that was back when we had 0 Hofs. So, it's only gotten better since then. But yeah, Ostara was my first, and it'll always be my favorite.
Yeah. All right, we do have several donations that have come in. Thank you guys so much. Monk donated $50 to VNS Fund. Thank you, Monk. That is greatly appreciated. And then Alzie Miller donated $30 to the general fund and also bought us 3 coffees. Looking forward to Ostara. Hail the AFA. Thank you so much. All right, we do have another question. What books would you recommend for someone that wants to get more in touch with general Asatru culture? Not necessarily religious books. Go the Stamm. Do you want to give, let's say everybody on the call give 2 books. So start with Go the Stamm.
Okay. General Asatru culture, not necessarily religious. Well, there's a book that I always recommend everybody read, and it does have some, it's obviously religious, but it has a lot of worldview and just Germanic Asatru culture in it, as We Are Our Deeds. I always recommend everyone read that. And obviously Steve McNailin's book, either one really, but the Native European spirituality is probably the best for people that are wanting to know more, Asatru culture 101 type of thing. So there's 2, I guess.
All right. Heather, can you give us 2 of your recommended books, please?
Well, these are 2 that you taught me that helped me, and it is Beowulf and Lady with the Mead Cup.
Recommend reading them side by side with both of the books open. It'll make your life a lot easier. Just saying.
Just
All
saying,
right.
that's really hard. Don't do that.
Witan Young, do you got some recommendations for us?
I do. The One-Eyed God by Chris Kershaw gives a lot of history on Odin's role in the ancient Germanic Mannerbund, and Culture of the Teutons by Wilhelm Grombeck, which gives a really broad narrative or broad commentary on the culture of the Teutons. It's pretty much right there in the title. But what's really interesting about Culture of the Teutons is that every time I read it, I find something new. Or I've read it before or whatever, but I wasn't ready for it. Is the best way to explain it. So I definitely recommend, if you're just starting out, you start off with a 101 book like Asatru and Native European Spirituality by Founder McNally, a Book of Truth by Edred Thorson, and then you can start venturing into Culture of the Teutons. If you don't have a good foundational knowledge, Culture of the Teutons is pretty deep, but that one's probably the best as far as overall Asatru culture.
All right, Go the East. What do you got, sir?
Quick note about Culture of the Teutons, since Witan Young stole one of mine. There is a version of it that's published now by Antelope Hill Publishing, I think, that has a foreword by our Altair Gothi. So I highly recommend grabbing that edition specifically. My 2 would be the Germanicization of Early Medieval Christianity by whatever that author's name was. And the other one would be, that's the one. The other one would be Mysteries of the Goths by Stephen Flowers, aka Edred Thorson. And that one touches on the Goths, obviously, and that's really important because they their language and their culture was probably the closest that we know of to the Proto-Germanic worldview, and as far as we can tell, their pre-Christian religion was closest to that ancient kind of migration age version of Asatru. It's really good book to read, and yeah, that one and Germanicization of early medieval Christianity for sure.
Thank you, sir. So I'm going to take the Witanic Privilege, and I'm going to do 3. We're going to do Beowulf by Seamus Haney. We're going to do Beowulf by Tolkien, and we're going to do Beowulf by Dr. Leslie Hall. So those are my 3 that I would recommend reading. Other than that, the sagas of the Icelanders. Please read the sagas. Sagas and lore and Beowulf and all of these books we're talking about, they all go hand in hand. They all build on each other. I recommend reading the sagas in the same way that you read the lore. Every time, and the same way that you read Beowulf. If you're one of my students, you're required to read Beowulf a minimum of 5 times. Count that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Every time you read it, you're going to find something different. Every 5, this many. You'll find something new every single time you read it. Same way when you read the lore, same way when you read the sagas. You're going to find something that speaks to you in one way, shape, or form. All right, let's see if we have any other questions tonight. It looks like those are all the questions that we have so far, unless somebody comes in at the last minute. So Witan Young and Folkbuilder Young, could you give us one more push for Ostara? Why we should be there, where we can get tickets, why it's going to be the best thing ever.
Again, it's going to be in Linden, North Carolina at Thorshoff. This is our fourth annual Ostara at Thorshoff since the acquisition of the Hoff. It's steadily grown over the years, and this year is turning out to be our biggest. So come on down, support your folk. If you've never been to Thorshoff, you'll be blown away by the hospitality of the people and the piety that is exhibited inside that holy temple. It's a sacred place. The 3 Gothies outside of Brandy really grew and were cultivated in that holy space. It's where the foundations of our Gothar journey was really laid, and it's a very special place to me personally. Again, also Gothi Flavel, the AFA Witan in its entirety, Gothi Stamm, Gothi East, Githia Erickson, and folk builders from all over the country are going to be there. And we're super excited about it. Again, expect a lot of hospitality, a lot of frith, and seeing this beautiful face work in the room as we exchange gifts with the Lady of the Dawn. It's an exciting time. Ostara isn't just about the beginning of spring. It can also be about beginnings. And perhaps your path hasn't been all that illuminated up to this point. Expect illumination whenever you meet up with us and sharing the gift exchange with Ostara. You'll only be better for it, I promise you. So if you have social anxieties and things of that nature, everybody on this call has had that. Yeah. Every last one of us. And as Brandy said, I'd met all of my best friends through Ostara. I actually met Trent right before Ostara, but yeah, it's a beautiful holiday. It's my very favorite.
All right, so it looks like we do have a couple questions that have come in. We're going to grab these really quick. The first one is from Finn. Do any of you know why does this holiday change when it happens between years? Gothi Stamm, do you want to take that one? This holiday is kind of your jam.
I'm not sure I understand the question. Why does the date change, I think? Well, it's done on the equinox, so there's some figuring about I mean, it literally. I mean, it's scientific about when it changes, when the days start lengthening. It's all about the equinox, and I'm not a science guy, so but now, obviously, in my humble opinion, when the goddess was at the height of her worship, there was only one dawn a day, so it was hard to miss. The day lasted all summer and the night lasted all winter. So, the date is when the sun rose. But we do it on the equinox is why. So the dates are going to change. And now, of course, in our modern era, for example, last weekend was Baldershof's Ostara. We have to work around work schedules. We have to work around kindred schedules, and when can we get folks to be there, etc. We all try to do it around equinox, but it's really hard to get people together on a Tuesday. So that's kind of why the dates may fluctuate a little bit. And as far as official dates, it's all about astronomy. It's when the equinox happens to be.
Which is tomorrow.
Which is tomorrow.
Which is tomorrow.
All right, we have got one more question. And it is, what is the opinion of the AFA on Wagner's ring cycle? Does anybody on this call have an opinion about that? Go ahead if you do.
I do. I mean, it's loosely based on the Nibelungenlied, which is the continental German version, or not version, but their viewpoint on the Sigurd saga. There's some differences, but essentially they're very similar. But Wagner used that and adapted that to make an opera, and a really good opera at that. Wagner, very talented man. His operas are wonderful. Recommend everybody enjoy them thoroughly. And it's loosely based on the Nibelungenlied. So, and of course, the horned helmets came from Wagnerian opera because it lends some spice, to the show. And I think in the beginning it was winged helmets, but just the same. Yeah, I mean, enjoy good music made by Germanic people. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect to lore, just like we enjoy Tolkien, who wrote Lord of the Rings. There's some Germanic-esque, myth intertwined in that story, but it's not 100% jiving with lore. But it's still very enjoyable, and it's still part of the Germanic, heroes cycle, Germanic myth, and storytelling style. May not be religion, but it's definitely enjoyable.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Also, our producer and director, Nick, has got a really interesting paper about all of those helmets. So contact him and he would love to give that to you. It's a very good presentation. We've got a couple more questions. Ladies and gentlemen, how can we advance AFA via art? Your thoughts and what would you like to see specifically? Ideas? Thank you. I'm going to give that one over to Go the East because he's got a fabulous artist that lives in his house. So I'm going to give that over to him.
Yeah, so the best way to advance the AFA through art is by making it. Do it. Pour your piety into it, your devotion. Do it, if you are able, do it in a way that's keeping with the AFA aesthetic, because that shows consistency and it already looks cool because my wife designed all of that. And so it just adds to all of our cool looking art. That fun fact, while I'm at it, when Witan Spawn painted the Thorshof mural and everybody with normal brains and eyes and senses of style was like, wow, that's really amazing and moving. Even the people who hate us on Twitter were talking about, how much they hate us because we're all normal or something. but they love Witan Spawn's art and felt that it was a great representation of Asatru. So AFA art and art to our gods is, when done with piety and devotion, is so potent and powerful that even the people who hate us admire it. Yeah, that's all you can do really, is be the one to make the art and do it. Pour your soul into it. Focus on whichever god or goddess you are depicting, and kind of, you could Galder while you do it. There's all kinds of spiritual stuff you could incorporate while you do that. Just anything you do with art, like I said, just pour your devotion into it and make it real. Bring it to life.
Thank you, sir. All right, we do have a couple more questions. Question for each of you: what is your favorite food tradition in your household? Perhaps a recipe that was passed down from your grandparents. In my household, the yearly tradition, and I will only make it once a year, and it's going to be strawberry glazed ham and coal cannon. If you don't read the runestone, you need to read the runestone. And that's going to be going to your email. You really need to open that up, because they do have the folk recipes in there. And my coal cannon recipe is in there somewhere. And I'm just saying, I'm a little bit biased, but my coal cannon is awesome. But my tradition is going to be strawberry ham and coal cannon on winter nights. Go the East. Do you guys have any?
Not especially as far as food itself, but we use all of my Granny East's old cooking utensils. I remember when I was a tiny little kid staying at her house, she'd be cooking with stuff, and she was real old fashioned. So she would say, Trent, I know you're never going to cook with these, but one of these days you're going to marry a beautiful woman who will cook stuff for you using these things. And as usual, Granny East was right. So we don't have any culinary traditions per se outside of just cooking healthy, delicious things using like cast iron pots from pre-World War I. So
Thank you, sir. Youngs, do you guys have anything that you've got traditional family? What's your favorite?
Well, I don't do many of them anymore. But my aunt has sent me a lot of my grandma's recipes. My grandma was the kind, she grew all of our food. Everything was homemade. We didn't buy anything from the store but meat. So my beautiful Lauren, she makes all of our bread, all of our rolls, all of our cakes. Half the time she cooks all of our dinners. Yep. So I just give her the recipes, and I get to watch her because she does so many things that remind me of my grandmother. It's like watching my grandmother in the kitchen again, cooking her things, but through Lauren. Yeah, she's in there right now baking stuff. That's what I keep looking at.
Mine would be my so we make a sauce in my family for spaghetti and for lasagna. It was taught to me by my dad, who was taught by his mom how to do it, and it's fairly basic. But there's a little bit of history behind it with me and the AFA and that recipe. When we were in the Gothar program, Altair Gothi Flavel would had like a message group with us all in it. And he would say, by all's Harrier Gothic decree, you will do this, whatever it was. And one of those was, I don't want you guys to just be homies. I want this to be a fraternity of brothers and sisters that, you're going to stand beside these people for the rest of your lives and honor and represent our gods. And he wanted us to start building better bonds. And I didn't know Trent all that well then. Trent lives one state away from me. We were friendly, but weren't best friends or anything. And I called him up and I said, hey man, what are you doing on Sunday? Oh, nothing. Why? I said, why don't you drive up to Camden and I'll cook for you? And he drove 4.5 hours from northern Georgia to my house in central South Carolina. We ate spaghetti and talked about how badass Slayer and Megadeth are. And again, one of my very best friends. A lot of that came out of that, and again, that was shared over my granny's meal, so that's pretty cool too.
And it will be one of the meals at Ostara.
That's right. My grandma's lasagna is the main dish Saturday. Yeah.
Goldie Stamm, how about you? Any family traditions with food?
Yeah. One of the things I always like to do is for any holiday or get together, I cook German food, specifically Bavarian food, and my kids love it. Yeah, rouladen is like German comfort food, so I make that often with Nodal. And occasionally, because it's a lot of hard work, but it's a North German dish. It's called Königsberger Klopse. I'll make that. I tend to do that though. It's very hearty, so I tend to do that like winter nights ish, Yule, and it's a lot of work. But yeah, that's what we do.
The food is always worth the work. Food brings people together. So when we bless the food at Baldersoft, we always talk about blessing the food and blessing the folk and blessing the temple. You know, may the food nourish your body, but may the conversation and the love that you have at that table nourish your soul. So food definitely is what brings people together. And speaking of food, we have another question about food. Is there any specific food to eat at Ostara? Yeah. My family eats a lot of egg dishes, honey, milk, dairy, things of that nature. Very spring oriented, lots of eggs, of course, because we're dyeing all the eggs and decorating all the eggs. You got to do something with eggs afterwards. So lots of eggs. And the other question we got is there a website with more information on the event at Thorsoft? Yes, and if Nick can throw that up on the screen, that would be great. You're going to want to go to runestone.org, go to the store, hit the events, and check out the tickets for that there. All right. Well, that looks like it is the end of the questions for us tonight. We have a very big day tomorrow. We have a lot of traveling, and I know Witan Young's got to head to the airport and be picking up the big man himself. So with that being said, everybody have a happy Ostara. I hope to see you at Thorsoft this weekend. Hope to see all of my best friends and all of my best buds and all of my family. So we'll talk to you guys next week, same time, same place. Hail the gods, hail the folk, hail the AFA, and remember, victory never sleeps. Happy Ostara, everyone.